AntiPilgrim 1 Cheater's Solitaire was originally designed to be a solo adventure, just like classic Solitaire. But if you have 2 decks, you can play First Dungeon against a human opponent. This video assumes you are already familiar with how AP1 operates, and I'll only repeat information if it's directly applicable. You will need 2 complete First Dungeon decks to play PvP. Set up both solitaire tables where you can see the other player. Side-by-side works if space is limited, and it can even be helpful for learning, but facing each other is the ideal play experience. Each player will need their own deck. 4 goal cards, 32 solitaire cards, 4 gear cards, 4 foundation proxy cards, 24 difficulty matrix cards, 6 enemy cards. For PvP, you only need 1 die. Set the other one aside. The big difference between the solo experience and PvP is the addition of role assignment. 1 player will be the hero, 1 player will be the lurker. Who takes which role first is determined by gameplay. During combat, the lurker strikes from the shadows using enemy cards and the difficulty matrix cards. The hero chooses attack or defend blindly against an unknown value. Damage works just like the solo experience, with 1 caveat. If there's extra damage or extra attacks left once the enemy card is defeated, that splash damage or remaining attacks will carry over to the lurker. Armor deducts first, and then the remainder hits the lurker's hit points. In PvP, a war encounter is always a full 3-card encounter. Even if the enemy dies early, all remaining cards in that encounter must be resolved. Starting at the same time, both players attempt to be the first to collect 3 cards into their foundation piles. The first player to do this collects the die from the center of the table and assumes the role of hero. The other player becomes the lurker. The first round of combat in PvP is always immediate. There is no roll for combat and no dice counter. For the first war encounter, the hero uses the 3 cards that they've collected into their combat pool. The lurker randomly draws 1 enemy card and 3 difficulty matrix cards. A war encounter plays out exactly like it does in the solo dungeon. If a star enemy arrives, and the hero only has 3 cards in their combat pool, the hero reuses those same 3 cards, while the lurker will continue to draw from the difficulty matrix. The star enemy always persists until they are defeated or the hero's hit points drop below 0. Once combat has resolved, the hero now has the die. At this point, the hero now becomes the lurker. Both players return to playing solitaire. Once the new lurker has collected 2 more cards, not 3, into their foundations, they roll for combat like normal. This 2-card trigger is a PvP-specific rule. Once the lurker has collected 2 new foundation cards, they roll for combat and then pass the die to the hero. The number rolled is the number of moves or interactions both players are allowed before combat begins. During this window, players may reposition cards or cheat their gear. Each cheat or gear buff counts as 1 interaction. When the dice counter expires, the war encounter begins. The lurker attacks using their enemy cards and difficulty matrix cards. 3 hero cards are always in play, and all 3 must be resolved. This can be done in any order. Anytime an enemy dies, the remaining cards are still active. The hero must still choose attack or defend for those remaining cards. If an enemy is defeated, and damage or attacks remain, that carries over to the lurker, first to their armor, then into their hit points. Conversely, if the hero attacks and fails, or defends and blocks successfully, the damage comes from the enemy card's attack score, not the lurker's weapon value. If a player is defeated at any time and their hit points drop to 0, the surviving player wins immediately. If neither player is defeated, the stalemate is broken by the first player to achieve a win condition. The win condition is: all the cards in discard have been resolved, all the cards on the table have been sorted according to reverse-solitaire, and the player has a clear path to the Exit Now card. Once this is achieved, the player taps the Exit Now card. Regardless of current role assignment, that player assumes the role of the hero, and must fight a mandatory star enemy. The Lurker presents both star enemies from their deck, and the hero blindly chooses one. If the hero defeats the star enemy, they win the dungeon. If they die during this final encounter, the Lurker wins.